Welcome in on a Texas Taco Tuesday. It is football season, which means we do talk plenty of Texas on Tuesdays. It's the Chris Duel Show. My name is Shannon B. Sweeney. Chris Duel out on vacation this week. We've got the lovely Andy Everett in with us. And of course, as always, holding it down in the San Antonio studios, Mr. Dave Ayler. And Dave, I had this question coming in this morning because I know Chris is in Port Aransas right now on vacation. And he's supposed to be on vacation, but I saw lots of videos on his social media yesterday of him reporting from the site of, I guess where Nicholas is making landfall, at least pretty rough. Is he working on WAA at all? Because I feel like that's what his vacation has turned into.
No, he's not there, but I saw those videos too, and it was all those wins was amazing.
I
can't, crazy.
In one of them, he said, come on, Nicholas, join the party. Listen, I think it's a great strategy to stick around because I'm sure a lot of people have left town. He will have the beach all to himself once this dies down later.
And I think taunting Mother Nature is just asking for it.
You don't want to do that.
I just love that he's he's going on this beach vacation. It's like this on before basketball season picks up, and this is what is occurring. He's working and he doesn't even realize it.
And Shannon, before we get started, I'm looking at the Facebook feed, and I want to know why Andy's not wearing a green shirt. Because me and you are wearing green shirt, and Andy's
got
not
the
wearing
green wall there. He might blend in as much.
Okay. Come on, Andy, it's green shirt day.
That's and even
no one told me. I don't know that I have a green shirt.
I think this is the only one I own.
You don't have a green shirt. What do you do on St. Patrick's Day? You just hide and stay at home?
Just hide, yeah.
Go out and watch all March Madness. That's like typically around tip-off.
Yeah, it's usually the first day of March Madness or that week anyway.
No,
I probably just don't participate. Oh, yeah, I don't have one. I'll find something green. Wear a green hat or something.
Your assassin get pinched.
Wait. You don't have a master's hat or master's shirt. I mean, at least that.
I don't.
It's not green. It's got the green outline of the yellow.
I had a master's shirt that somebody got me years ago because I've never been to the Masters.
What?
So, nope.
This is just information to me.
That's a hard ticket to get.
Well, I've tried the media route. So in Augusta, that doesn't get you anything but a $5 cup of coffee in Starbucks if you have $5.
Real quick.
I've tried the media route 15 times. And the reason I really want the media badge is because on Sunday night they draw like 36 names or something to play the golf course the next day. So that's the coveted ticket. But the way I understand it is that if they don't think that they need you to cover their tournament, then they don't let you in. If you've got a valuable reason why it's going to benefit them for you to cover it, then they let you in. And then once you're in, but you got to get in first. So I've tried maybe 15 times over the last 20 years, and I usually get a letter in January. Thank you for your interest in covering the Masters, but sorry, we can't accommodate you. And then they started this lottery thing for tickets about.
Okay. You've really piqued my interest. What is your strategy for why you need to cover it? Because I think as I'm sitting here, I would say, listen, you know how many great golfers are from Texas that I need to cover who actually have a shot at winning this? I mean, Patrick Reed, Jordan Spieth, Bryson DeChambeau, just to Sergio Garcia, we can go ahead and throw in there. Well, yeah. Yeah. Listen, I can get you into Del Match play. I know some people. I know how to get into that one. Okay. See, is that because I know for football, a lot of times, especially if you want to go to like a bowl game or a championship game, the first thing they want to know is, well, have you covered the team throughout the season? So it's always important to get the credential at the beginning of the season. So do you have that in your strategy as well? Because I'm just trying to help you at this point. I'm just trying to think of all the ways we can get you there on this media pass. Okay. I mean, put that on the resume. Oh, man. So there's not multiple rounds. It's not like you would have to make it past the first round to then go down to the next game. You win and you're in. Wow, it's like college. All that disappointment in one shot. What a treat. Wow, I did not know that. I can't believe you haven't been to the Masters. We're gonna try and get you there. We need to start a campaign for Andy Everett. We don't need to GoFundMe. We just need like a professional resumer to help us out. That would help too. Jordan Spieth, if you're listening, and I don't know, I feel like Andy would make a good caddy. If anybody needs a backup caddy, I know Michael Greller's. They're the best of friends. I do love that relationship. Well, some media that has no problem covering their event of choice, Peyton and Eli, they were on the call last night for that Raiders and Ravens game in Las Vegas, the alternate broadcast on ESPN2. That's the one that I chose to watch last night, Andy. Did you watch? Did you pick a side? Did you tune in to either one? Okay, well, it was pretty bad at first. Yes. So great. So good. My hope is that he gets back to that studio stage sometime this next season. We are asking on our CDS poll question of the day, which Monday Night Football broadcast did you prefer? And right now, Andy, 83% of our voters are saying that they preferred the Peyton and Eli Manning broadcast over the typical Monday Night Football broadcast. And as someone who watched it, if you're not so interested in the teams and the game, I say watch that one because it was entertaining. They had a different guest every quarter, Charles Barkley, Ray Lewis, Russell Wilson, Travis Kelce. So they had that cast of characters kind of rolling through. They were telling all kinds of side stories. We actually have a clip of Peyton and his reaction to the first offensive play of the Raiders. He actually had their season prediction right off the bat. First incomplete pass by Derek Carr and the Raiders, and Peyton Manning immediately writes him off as 6-11. Well, they got one of them last night as they did get that win over the Ravens. But if you're into the game, if it was Cowboys playing, I think I'd have to watch the regular Monday Night Football broadcast. Now, I may watch it on silent, so I don't have to hear the broadcast. But they were cutting in and out from Peyton. You're limited to about half the screen with the actual game. And there was a lot of side notes. Some of them had to do with the game. Peyton was talking about Lamar Jackson, of course, the quarterback for the Ravens, and how he came to his Manning camp a few years ago, and that he was a little bit out of sorts because he was late due to his flight. He lost his luggage. So things just weren't going his way. He also had a side story about getting a PB&J sandwich with Harbaugh at one point during a tryout with San Francisco. Numerous things, so many things that at one point I thought, this is only the first game of the season. What are they going to talk about throughout the rest of the year? They're talking a million miles a minute, but a pretty fun and interesting way to do things. I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know that they'll cover each and every game because, again, I don't know what they're going to talk about. But Peyton and Eli together doing that, I think it's a wonderful thing. And if you didn't get to check it out, I highly suggest checking it out next week. Mm. Mm. Yeah, well, you mentioned that, and I've got my cable box is set to where every time I turn it on, it goes to ABC, no matter if it's the last channel I watch or not. And so when I turned on, I was surprised to see that, like you're talking about, the game was on both ABC and ESPN as the original broadcast. And I remembered, oh, that's right. Dancing with the Stars starts next week, which of course is why we don't get Monday Night Football on ABC, because Dancing with the Stars is just so important that I guess everyone else who isn't watching Monday Night Football for whatever reason turns into that show. So we won't get it next week. But also with that, that broadcast was about 8 or 10 seconds behind the Peyton Manning broadcast. So that was curious, and that if you just wanted to be that much ahead, if you were like a reporter and wanting to tweet about the game, you could be that much ahead by watching that Peyton and Eli broadcast. Now, what do you think about that duo? I know you didn't watch, but when you hear that duo together, do you feel like, oh, it's really just Peyton and friends, or do you really feel like it's Peyton and Eli together, they're better? Mm-hmm. Broncos. Well, I definitely agree. He is the lead when it comes to Peyton and Eli. Eli did have some comments last night. I mean, Peyton, as I said, they were doing a lot on that broadcast. Peyton was dressing up as John Gruden. He was going over to the playboard and writing down plays. At one point, he tried to put on a Ravens helmet, and Eli said, "Did they not make that in an XXL? Your forehead is too big. That's not going to fit you." So Eli had his moments, and I think he definitely has the help of his brother. And I love what you say about what Peyton may aspire to in the future. I mean, he was incredible as a quarterback in the NFL, but he's certainly in his bag right now with what he's doing, what he's capable of doing. I dare, I'm going to say it right now on record. I don't know if it's possible, but if you could go into the Hall of Fame twice, I think Peyton would be the first guy to do it, based on either whether he gets something for broadcasting or, like you said, he goes to ownership, or GMing a franchise, whatever that might be. And you mentioned the Broncos. That's interesting. We'll be talking to the little Broncos a little later today. As they could be changing hands as far as ownership, and there's some big names that look to lead the way there. It is the Chris Duel Show. Yep. What? It's like you're there, but it's not. Yeah, you get excited to watch either a Monday night game or a Thursday night game when you see your team scheduled because you know so-and-so will be leading the call. Andy Everett, of course, he's one to know about broadcasting just a little bit as he is the voice of the UTSA Roadrunners. When we come back, we'll get into the high five play of the day. We'll talk some more NFL news. As always, get over to our Twitters, AM13 on the Zone and Ticket 760 to vote on which broadcast you preferred from last night, the original Monday Night Football broadcast on ESPN or that new Peyton and Eli broadcast featuring friends of all the guys. All right, we'll keep it rolling. Coming up next, Chris Duel Show. It's the high five play of the day. Tuesday here on the Chris Duel Show. You leaning back, Andy? That's the move to this song. Lean back. It's a really easy one. I could totally teach you. If you don't make it out to that Masters, we'll just get together and I'll teach you all of the cool dances from my generation. All right, it's that time for the hi-fi play of the day. And let's hear that happy music. Oh yeah. Feels good. All right, this one is out of California, Los Angeles. I saw this story and just felt like we needed to share it, talk about it, give it some love. The Watts Rams is a youth football team in Los Angeles in the Watts neighborhood. The Watts neighborhood, most known for their highest concentration of gangs in LA. So their priority is to get kids ages 8 to 14 to come out and play football, do good things with their life. They teach them discipline, leadership. They get them to go out and volunteer. They stress academics. There's some kids who were previously failing their classes. Now they're making straight A's. So they're doing a lot more than just football. And the Los Angeles Rams, winners of Sunday Night Football this past weekend, took notice, and they have made a connection with that team. They have provided them with new jerseys. Of course, they look now very similar to what we know and love about the Los Angeles Rams, and that really bright blue with that yellow accent. They also provided them with a new field, and they will allow these kids to come to the game November 7th when they take on the Tennessee Titans. I'm sure a lot of these kids have never been to an NFL game. They probably dream of playing in the NFL now that they're in this program. By the way, over 100 kids now in this Watts Rams program. I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic that the LA Rams saw this and decided to get involved with it. You know, we see the commercials, and the Watts Rams kids are actually a part of it. One of those new NFL Who Has My Back. I'm sure anyone who watched NFL on Sunday saw that commercial at least once. It gets in your head. Who has my back? I have your back. Who has my? They're in that commercial. They are the kids that look like the little tiny Rams with Aaron Donald. I love it. I think more areas around the U.S. should build programs like this, especially when you have an NFL team in your backyard. And not only are these kids getting the opportunity to go see the Rams versus the Titans on November 7th, but you mentioned how you really want to go to the Masters as a huge golf fan. Well, any huge football fan wants to go to the Super Bowl. And these kids are getting the opportunity to go to the next Super Bowl, as it is going to be held in the Rams' home at SoFi Stadium. They just need to do really well this year leading up. They need to have good academics. They need to show good leadership and show that they're doing good volunteer work, and they will get the chance to go to the Super Bowl all the way around. I just think it's fantastic. So high five to that Watts youth program, which is actually started by the police in that neighborhood to help these kids, give them something to do with their time, and to the LA Rams for lending a helping hand and helping this program grow. Yeah, this program about a decade old now. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future, some of these kids, we start seeing them become big names in college and maybe living out that NFL dream, not just getting to attend a Super Bowl because they were able to hold up to their own during their time at the Watts football program, but to get to that next level and to be someone who then turns around and says, look what I did with the help of this program and through this program. Again, I just think it's incredibly fantastic. So a high five to them, high five to the Rams for being so involved and allowing them to have this incentive to not only go to a Rams game, but to head to Super Bowl 2022, which I'm hoping, again, Bills, Bucks. That's my pick. Did we get your pick, Andy? Right now, you have week 1. Who you got? Okay, that's fine. Kyler. All right, fair. So you got Kansas City in? Okay. You don't want to go with the same Arizona logic and throw Baker in there? Both Heisman winners. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, now with Patrick Mahomes there. Now, when you see Kyler and Baker, you know, they're in the Heisman House commercials together. They're both obviously from OU, and they're both relatively young in the league and have made a lot of strides for teams that have not been very good as of late before they got there. Well, who do you think has the edge as far as a better career as it stands right now? Yeah. Yeah. And he's doing a lot off the field as well. So he could make $500,000 or $500,000,000 at some point. He could get there. Especially when it does become contract time. If he keeps doing those Madden like moves, those video game like moves like he did this past weekend, he could get there. And quarterback's a hot topic as they usually are, but this week in particular in the Washington area, Cam Newton's still floating around. So questions, of course, to Ron Rivera about, okay, now that Ryan Fitzpatrick has this hip injury, he's on IR. How about now? How about now will you consider bringing in Cam Newton? Of course, when Cam was released from the Patriots, that was the first question and the first person that everyone asked about was Ron Rivera. Will you consider bringing Cam into camp? Because you know him, you worked with him. You guys, he had an MVP season together, coach of the year together. You went to the Super Bowl together. Why wouldn't you bring him in? I thought it spoke volumes when he didn't bring him in. At that point, I think it speaks even more loud and clear now when he says, I don't even have my starting quarterback that I went into the season with. My first reason to deny Cam was that I have Ryan Fitzpatrick as my starter. He's who we're going with. Now he's on IR. He still does not want Cam Newton. The aura. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting you mentioned aura, ego, and backup. When Cam was released from the Patriots, he sent out an Instagram story about "Don't feel sorry for me." And the story was that he was told he was going to do the backup. And so he decided that he was going to leave because he did not want to be a backup. We got a little insight to that with a recent interview with Cam that's been floating around the internet. Let's hear a little bit of that now. It was all uncomfortable. I can't imagine that it was uncomfortable for Bill or Belichick, because he's just he's a guy who he walks in a room and everyone else feels uncomfortable. I would imagine Cam feels uncomfortable. Cam went on in that interview to talk about his aura, something you mentioned, Andy, about how he said, I didn't want to be there because I thought with my aura, the way my aura is, that it would make Mac feel uncomfortable, as almost to say Mac would feel like I'm constantly over his shoulder, as if he makes a mistake, I'm going to be that guy because I am that guy. The attitude Cam Newton has, what we've seen with Jameis Winston, has been incredible. He deserves all the credit, right? He went into a system in Tampa Bay that wasn't fit for his play style. The coaches didn't move anything around to fit his play style. He was also came in with a lot of arrogance, came in a lot of, he was from Florida in college, so now he's playing for a Florida team. He was the man of Florida in his mind. He was humbled when he got traded and let go. He sat behind Drew Brees and the Saints last year. He took his little humble pills and learned, and now he's proving himself worthy of a starting quarterback, leader of a team. You mentioned it yesterday, how he even behaves in interviews and things he says in interviews. And Coach Payton, even gave him credit about how, I changed the off. We design it for the quarterback and what works best for him, and that he's been really great in all that work. I just don't see Cam Newton doing that in the future, in whatever future he might have left in the league, and certainly when he continues to come out and say things like we just heard. I don't see it for him. Cam Newton, one of the big names still out there. 4 teams to grab, along with Todd Gurley and Richard Sherman. We'll see if they get picked up anytime soon. Coming up next, we'll talk some Texas. We'll hear from Coach Shark. He held his weekly Monday presser yesterday following that loss to Arkansas and previewing the Rice game. The quarterback controversy continues on the 40 acres, so we'll get the breakdown of that and more. If you have anything, NFL, college football, if you just want life advice, Andy and I, as well as Dave, great at giving it. Go ahead and call us 1-800-707-9760. Yeah, we'll give it. We'll dish it out for sure. 1-800-707-9760. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone. 7 a.m. hour on the Chris Duel Show. It's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Andy Everett, and Dave Ayler holding it down in San Antonio. Chris Duel currently playing the weatherman on his vacation in Port Aransas, dealing with, I think it's now hurricane status. Mr. Nicholas down there just making the beach probably a little bit more eventful than he had hoped for. But nonetheless, I hope he's sleeping in this morning and enjoy vacation. That's what vacation means to me when I wake up as early as I do on the regular for my day job. Now, Andy, before we get into Texas and the 40 acres, let's talk a little UTSA. We do have a question here from Jason on our video feed. As always, we are streaming on Facebook and YouTube. He is saying UTSA kicked off and Lamar Fair caught the ball at the 5-yard line, not the end zone, but they still moved the ball to the 25. Shouldn't that have been where he Fair caught it? Andy? Yeah, that'll definitely change some people's perspectives on whether or not a guy should run once they snag it, especially if they're bringing it out of the end zone, because not all of them make it to that 25-yard line or further. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And USC, their kicker was taken out of the game. He got called for targeting on the very first play of the game against Stanford. Of course, that game ultimately got Clay Helton fired, as we learned yesterday. But to your point, I think a lot of that, after seeing the play myself, he did lower his head, but I think a lot of it also had to do with the fact that it was a kickoff and guys were going from either end at full speed. And that's where a lot of horrible injuries can and how they do occur. Right. It's just, it shouldn't get that deep anyway, right? I'm more than a kicker. There you go. You heard it from Andy. And now, Andy, the lines are starting to come out for week 3 of college football. You sent me this morning. UTSA, you sent me a 13-point favorite. I have seen that it has now moved to a 13.5-point favorite over Middle Tennessee. You said this is the biggest line, and that's in favor for a conference play game? Well, as Jeff Traylor says, don't eat the cheese. But some fans might be nibbling when they start to see lines like this appear for UTSA. Now, when it comes to Texas football, they have opened up as a 24.5-point favorite over Rice. This coming after the loss to Arkansas. We heard from Coach Sark yesterday, and this is how he opened his press conference. All right. He made it a point to address a remedy to a loss. Good attitude, good mindset, a little bit of coach speak. Referencing the NFL to me, to your college team, a little bit different, right? In the NFL, you can take a loss or two. Heck, you can take 8 or 9 and win a division and still get into the playoffs. That's not the case when it comes to college football. And then that little aside there, oh, by the way, Casey Thompson going to be starting over Hudson Card this week. Again, he did say that Card would play. He elaborated on that a little bit more as to why he's going with Casey this week instead of Hudson Card. I feel like you need both quarterbacks when you don't have one guy who can get it done on a week in, week out basis. uh, Listen, in my mind, there's garbage time and then there's garbage time. Okay, garbage time is when you are up by an insurmountable amount. There's no coming back for the other team. You want that other guy to have reps. So, as you said, they feel comfortable should something awful happen to your starter and they can come in and still get the job done and be comfortable in that setting. And then there's garbage time, which I felt is what Casey Thompson got. Casey Thompson was not put into this Arkansas game to come back and save Texas. There was no saving what had already been done. He got put in because there was no coming back, because they felt like, okay, well, let's see what he can do given the circumstances. But there was no coming back for Texas at that time. And to me, yes, people were calling for Casey Thompson very early on in that game. I felt like it was too early, but at the same time, I think he was put in a little too late because he got put in at garbage time when I felt like there was maybe a little glimmer of hope still left in Texas that if the offense gets going, if they can figure something out, this game can be saved, or maybe it just won't look as bad as it ended up looking. But that was never the case for Texas. So now Texas turns to this weekend. They face Rice. As I said, they open up as a 24.5-point favorite. And Coach Sark was asked about this game as we move on from that Razorback loss and onto the Rice Owls. It's always nice for the coaches to pay respects to their opponent. Don't give them any chalkboard material. But Andy, in my mind, we need an Oklahoma type game. We need a UTSA over Lamar type game. We need to go out there and truly all gas, no brakes. Rice. Oh, Texas Tech, who hasn't. Yes. No, they're not. This tastes disgusting coming out of my mouth right now, but I'm going to say it. Okay, Rice played Arkansas the week prior. They lost 17-38. Okay, that score looks oddly similar to the Texas score of 40-21. The way you look at the stats, if you were just on paper, these teams at this very moment, where we stand right now, going into week 3 of college football, look very similar. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to say even matchup because, oh my gosh, no. But you cannot see this 24.5 points that Vegas is currently giving Texas and just assume, because guess what? Texas had a giant, 8.5 at one point against Arkansas, more than a touchdown. And look what you did there. Okay, so I'm expecting the true all gas, no brakes, because all we got was brakes on Saturday. That's all I saw. Just brakes. Just massive. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we just didn't start the ignition, but that was all brakes on Saturday. I need all gas come this weekend. As I said, I want Oklahoma shutting out and putting up 70 on somebody. I want UTSA putting up 50 plus, shutting out their opponent. I want that. I want the mob to have their halftime performance ready where they will probably make fun of that recent loss to Arkansas, even though they lost to Arkansas 2 weeks ago. They will probably have that in their halftime program because, yes, we enjoy them, but yes, they always point to the lowest points of the Texas football recent history. And I want them to feel ashamed when they do that performance at halftime. I want the score to be so bad, so out of handle for that Rice Owls program that band says we need to call an audible. We need to not do the program that we scheduled ourselves to do. We just need to stand here and I guess perform our school song and cheer and clap because we can't do that in front of them because they are killing us right now. That's how I feel going into this weekend. I need all of that to happen. Well, to your point, Andy, you can have the best players in the world, but if they aren't put in the right positions, if they aren't coached up, if the scheme isn't in place, it doesn't matter. And Coach Stark spoke to that a little bit yesterday as he was asked about his elite coaching staff and the players he has on this Texas roster. Coach him up, Coach Stark. Coach him up. Don't let wearing Texas across your chest mean anything other than that is the school you represent when you take the field. Play at your highest ability and make sure you're holding the guys around you accountable for each and every down, each and every snap, and we'll be okay. But you got to do that first before you do anything else. Big one against Rice this weekend as Texas needs to right this ship before they enter conference play against Texas Tech the following week. And then shortly after, Oklahoma, who they kind of got things back on track after a weird one against Tulane. Wouldn't you say, Andy? Oh, come on. That's made up. That's cool. We will talk more Texas at 8 o'clock when Taylor Esses of Horns 247 joins us. We will get the inside track and her take on this Texas team as she has been watching them and paying attention very closely. She was at that Sark presser yesterday, so maybe we'll see what he looked like when he walked in. Like what was the vibe? Was it odd? Because I know some of those Tom Herman pressers were the room was thick going into those. I'm curious how that Sark one went down. Coming up next, we've got sports history, sports birthdays, and a salty shakedown. And enjoy it because I am on vacation next week, you guys. So you're going to be without salty shakedown. I know you're going to miss it. I know you are. So enjoy while you have it. It's the Chris Duel Show on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760. 1-800-707-9760. Again, we give out free life advice. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. And head over to the AM 1300 Zone and Ticket 760 Twitter pages and vote on which broadcast you liked better last night. Monday Night Football had two broadcasts, the original that we know, love, and have kind of come to hate, and then the new version with the Eli and Peyton Manning. The brothers were on it with, as special guests, Charles Barkley, Travis Kelce, among those. All right, it's that time, my favorite segment of the day. Let's kick things off with a little bit of sports history. What an awful name. How many beers you having during a 20-inning game, Andy? You drink wine? It's hard liquor. Okay.
And fruit in them.
A Shirley Temple, maybe?
No,
I love Shirley Temple.
Oh, God.
I like pina colada.
Cherry lime.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you like margaritas? Can you tolerate them? Okay. If you were to say you don't like them, I'd say this friendship is over. Yeah. Like a natty light or something?
Michelob Ultra?
Nope. Dark beer.
Oh.
Guinness,
yes.
See, I don't. You see,
people that consider themselves beer connoisseurs don't like Guinness, and that's the one
dark,
I
too heavy.
like a little.
It does taste better from the brewery itself, being that view, but it still isn't for me. But I'm glad you like Bailey. I mean, if Shannon Sweeney was an Irish, I'm not going to throw in a Bailey in the middle of it. So you wonder where that's from. Okay. Fair. Stay hydrated. That's good. He just threw a giant birthday party for her. Like giant. Must be nice. Must be nice. I don't know. I think they're around the same age. All I know is I need to find me a nice, wealthy man. Not that I'm a gold digger, but, you know, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. That's all I'm saying. It'd be nice. But he's 1989. He's okay. Has he lived up to the hype? You think he's got more in him? Okay. He's always a great pick. He's a pretty solid pick. You know, when I was looking for birthdays today, I have two sources that I use, and one of them also is my source for a lot of the history stuff. And I was surprised I didn't see Deshaun until I went to my other source, and I don't know if that's because they don't rank him that highly or think of him that highly with his football achievements, or if it's because of maybe something else going on with Deshaun as to why he wasn't there. But he is a Texan, so I felt it necessary to add him to the list. And I hope he's celebrating his 26th birthday in a very responsible manner today. You know what I mean. There it is, today's sports histories and sports birthdays. And now on to today's Salty Shakedown. All right, I feel like if I talk about it, it'll go away. So I'm going to talk about it. Okay, because I keep seeing this video from Saturday at the Miami Hurricanes game of this cat in the stands. Andy, do you know what I'm referring to? Okay. Dave, have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so Miami Hurricanes, they are what they are. The highlight of that game was this cat catch. A cat fell from the upper deck. It just kind of randomly appeared out of a tarp. Stray cat took a dive. It was hanging on for dear life. The entire stadium was watching. And there were some people. It was 9/11, so there was an American flag, and they got it. There was a couple people underneath the cat, and they used it to help catch the cat. They did, in fact, catch it when it finally fell. It was quite scary, quite frightening, hard to watch, but I've seen it over and over again because it keeps appearing on all of my social feeds. They then Mufasa'd the Lion King, the cat, to show, yes, he's saved and he's still alive. We did it. He's only lost one of his 8 lives, which is a joke that then the Miami Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, then tweeted out. They said, we wish the cat best of luck and its 8 left the 8 lives it has left. And they did also donate to the Humane Society and encouraged others to do the same. Listen, we've seen a lot of cats at football games. Usually they're on the field, though. They're on the field. And I like that better than this terrifying moment that this I mean, what happens if they don't catch the cat? What happens? Is the game over? Which is game's just over at that point. You can't. I mean, people will be traumatized. They'd probably never step foot back in that stadium again. I mean, Section 102, shout out. I mean, incredible catch of the day for sure. Miami cat catch. I mean, that was a hard video to watch. I finally watched it because I was like, okay, I know they catch it because that's like the headline. But if you haven't seen it, go check it out, and you can see the little Lion King. That's my favorite movie. I love it. I love it so much. I'm going to Disney. I'm so excited to see Simba. Can't wait.
So did somebody take the cat home with them, or did they?
I think they donated to the Humane Society. I wonder if they also donated the cat. I don't know. I mean, I know, like I've been mentioning Disney lots. That's where I'm going this week, and I know they have like grounds cats that roam around, and people sometimes see them during the day, but they help maintain the rodents and keep them out of the parks. And I'm curious if maybe stadiums do that too, or they just naturally have a lot of stray cats, because yes, there are people that come in and pick up after the fans after the game, but they don't always get everything, right? There's pizza slices.
Usually go to where the food is.
Exactly. So I don't know. Maybe it was the stadium cat to begin with, and just one of their loose cats that they keep around to help maintain the cleanliness, or as clean as it can be for one of those stadiums. All right. As if we can't talk enough Arkansas. Here they are again. They won't get out of my mentions on Twitter. That Texas win is all they have to hold on to, and that's fine. Have it. We're not in the SEC yet. You go ahead and have it. I've accepted it. But Arkansas has to now accept a $100,000 fine for all those fans running onto the field after they beat Texas. The SEC has rules in place, okay? It is called the SEC Access to Competition Area Policy, in which only players and media members and basically everyone that's supposed to be on the field is allowed on the field. And if you're not allowed on the field and you get on the field, the SEC will fine you. And they will fine the school. And this is their second offense. Their first offense, I believe, was in either 2014 or 2015. I believe it was a basketball game when fans stormed, and they were fined $25,000 for that. Second fine, now $100,000. A third fine. So when Texas is officially in the SEC and they come to town and you beat Texas again, you do that, and you haven't run on the field since this last Saturday, That's a $250,000 fine for letting your kids run on the field, tear down the goalpost, whatever. That's a lot of money. Well, it's right. I mean, how much money do you have to spend on security to stop all those people from rushing the field? Yeah, technology will, yeah. You just have to make sure you've got a drone ready to go with one of those 4D cameras on it, and then you just start identifying kids after the fact. Now, I do give credit to the SEC because when they do assert these fines, the money then goes to the SEC post-grad scholarship fund. So it does go back to a good cause, but is quite. And Texas fans, take notes, okay? Because you will be joining the SEC. In Texas, I don't think I've ever been, and I've been to a lot of games at DKR over the 25 plus years. I don't think I've ever seen anyone rush the field. Not to say that there weren't games that were worthy of it, but I think Texas overall does a pretty good job of not making it hard to rush the field, and then, you know, having the people out there to be like, hey, don't do that. Yeah. Yeah, there was a video that SEC Shorts put out yesterday about Texas wanting to resend their letter to the SEC about wanting to join, and there are a lot of Arkansas people. I just commented, I think you're playing up this one game when in the series Texas leads 56-23. And then I got a lot of flack back. Imagine that, from Arkansas and Aggies. Okay, so that's, I mean, I didn't respond to him because, I mean, again, you're caring more than I care at this point, and that's fine because I realize that's all you have. But we're not in the SEC yet. Let me just reiterate. Okay, we've got time to build things up in this Sark program. Yeah, there's a lot of season left to be played. I mean, I'm saving all those tweets. You better believe it. All right, finally today, I want to talk a little Mac Jones because the video of him returning his touchdown ball to his receiver, the receiver handed him his first touchdown ball. He handed it back. They kind of passed it off back and forth until Mac Jones just dropped the ball. He was later asked after the game, you know, why didn't you want your first touchdown ball? Why didn't you want to keep that? And he said, it's just one touchdown. We have more to get, which is very much the Patriot way, the Patriot state of mind. And that's fantastic. But, and I think of Joey Votto, who we talked about a few weeks ago, who just hit a record number of hits. And they asked him about that ball and then what he did with his first ball. And he said his first ball that he ever hit, he actually just gave to his dog, and the dog chewed it up. And now he's kind of regretting that decision. So if I'm Mac Jones, if I'm a former coach, if I'm his mother, if I'm a sibling, I'm not saying put that thing in a box, put it over your mantle, kiss it goodnight every day. And you know, walk by it, pray by it, whatever. I'm not saying you gotta like use it as a shrine or whatever, but what if you have a Hall of Fame career? What if that happens for you? You're gonna want that ball. Somebody's gonna want that ball. That ball is gonna be worth something. I mean, we talk about now like all of the Jordan era crap, the underwear, the shoes, the shirts, even Peyton Manning, Tom Brady's touchdown balls that's now being sold for God knows how much amount of money, crazy amounts. I mean, just think about what that might be worth someday should he go on to have even one Super Bowl win under his belt during his career. I don't know why you wouldn't want to at least keep that just in case. She says a room full of balls. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool collection. And then also, like, God forbid something horrible happens to him on the field. He can't play again, or he decides it's not in my best interest. Or maybe he just becomes a humongous bust and is out of the league in the next couple of years. He can have that to be like, no, for real, I was in the NFL. That was my first touchdown, and it was my only touchdown, but I did it. And that's my proof right there. So I don't really agree with him not taking the ball. I get the mindset and I approve of the mindset, but I'm hoping that someone did at that moment pick the ball up off the ground, take it in the back, and hold on to it for him just in case. There you have it. Today's salty shakedown. Moving closer towards the 8 o'clock hour, Taylor Estes of Horns 247 will be joining us to talk Texas football. Sark, that quarterback controversy, a look back at Arkansas, and then we officially move on to the Rice game, which is the game this weekend back at DKR. Shaky Graves going to be the performer at Longhorn City Limits. Now, I've been to plenty of DKR games. I have not been to UTSA game. Andy, what's that tailgating scene look like down there in San Antonio? And do you expect the same this weekend? Maybe a little bit better? And what do people make at tailgates? Are we sticking with classic like burgers, hot dogs, or barbecue, or is it San Antonio we go tacos? Because I'm fine with that. I'm very much okay with that. Oh, what a tease for Andy. What a tease. All right. Moving on to the 8 o'clock hour. Taylor Estes next. Thanks so much for listening. It's the Chris Duel Show on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone. Shannon Sweeney with you here, along with Andy Everett, Dave Ayler, Chris Duel out on vacation, firsthand experiencing what is now hurricane down in Port Aransas. Probably not the vacation he imagined, but it's the vacation he got. So hopefully he is at least sleeping in at this time. It is 8 o'clock on a Texas Tuesday. So we do what we always do at this time. We talk a little Texas with the one and only Taylor Esses of Horns 247. She joins us after that Arkansas game that a lot of Texas fans, including myself, would like to forget. So after we talk to Taylor, we'll move on. I promise. We'll move on to Rice. We'll move on to better things. We'll move on to looking at next year's Arkansas game. But Taylor, your thoughts after what was an abysmal game for Texas, one that saw me almost losing my voice from yelling at the TV, particularly in that second half. A 40-21 loss for the Longhorns this weekend. What was your take on it? Taylor, earlier we talked about the quarterbacks, and I brought up garbage time. And I feel like there's garbage time and then there's garbage time. And then garbage time is when you get thrown in because the game is out of hand. There's no chance that your team can come back. So why not put that other guy in there and see what he can do? Versus garbage time where your team is doing just fine. Get that guy in there to get him some reps and make sure that he's good to go in case the unimaginable happens to your QB1. I think KC kind of got the lower hand against Arkansas. A lot of people were calling for him very early online, looking at that game. Early in the first quarter, even people were already put in Thompson, let's see Thompson, and then Sark eventually did throw him in. I thought online for him a little too early, but at the same time, I also felt like Sark maybe waited too long to make that change. Where do you stand with that as it played out on Saturday night? This regime certainly does feel like it has a different attitude and mindset of how to go about things versus Tom Herman. But one thing Sark said during the presser yesterday kind of felt very Hermanish. He mentioned how he told us, no NFL team has gone 0 and they've gone undefeated and won the Super Bowl. And while I get the sentiment, and I know that most people did not believe Texas would go undefeated this year, it felt like, in a way, he was saying what we heard so often from Tom Herman after an out-of-conference loss, was saying, it's still right in front of us. We can still win the Big 12 championship. And people didn't like to hear that because they want to go to the playoff. They want to win a national championship. They want to win both. They want to win it all. And right now, that's just not the case, as this is a new coaching staff and obviously the quarterback issues. So what do you say, and what do you think for the Texas fans as they kind of, talk about overreaction from one loss, the first loss under Coach Sarkisian following Saturday? Taylor, two kind of outside the box questions for you before I let you go. Rice doesn't necessarily move the needle when it comes to Texas fans and them getting up for these big games. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people at DKR Stadium this weekend. But one of the things that Texas fans do love when Rice comes to town is the opportunity to see the mob. But of course, they always poke fun at recent Texas events that don't, look that great. Whether it be something, I don't know, a player did off the field, or maybe a recent loss that happened. What in your mind would be that moment in history that they may look to poke fun at? And my other question, over at Texas Light, aka USC, just fired Clay Helton. They're looking for a new head coach. They've already got Todd Orlando over there. I believe there's another name from that Texas coaching staff over there. But I'm already seeing rumors of get Tom Herman. He's not doing too much with the Bears. Why not put him over there and have him try and lead that USC program with a lot of players who've already coached before? I'd feel bad for him. Well, as long as they try and dive into Texas even more and try to take Stark before he's even gotten started at Texas, I'm okay with that. Taylor S. with Horns 247. Thanks so much for joining us, Taylor. We look forward to next week. Alrighty, there she is, Taylor S., the managing editor for Horns 247. Where insiders go to eat for Texas football, Texas athletics in general. They have you covered over there. And Andy, as a Texas fan, over the last 10 plus years, I have mastered the art of self-deprecation when it comes to being a Horns fan. Okay, I can handle the jokes. I love them, even though sometimes they're so funny they make me cry because it's true. They're sad and true all at the same time. So I'm okay with that. But I can very much see the mob making fun of, if not the Arkansas loss, maybe comparing it to that Kansas loss, because I did see a lot of that going around over the weekend. Oh, this is another Kansas. They're losing to the Kansas of the SEC. I'm like, no, Vanderbilt is the Kansas of the SEC. Let's make that clear. They are not the Kansas. They are the TCU. I don't know. Maybe that's just my comparison. But when we come back, we'll get back into that poll question. And, Andy brought it up a little earlier. Would be a good owner or him in the NFL. And there might be a place for him in the near future. Go ahead. Got me. I mean, they kept homeboy for as long as they fired him after the first two games of the year. Like, why not just fire him at the end of the last season? I don't know. what they'll end up doing. But I have seen fans mention his name, so who knows? We may at least get a call. We'll be back for the Chris Duel Show on Ticket 760 and AM 1300. It's been a fun one today here on the Crystal Show. Sharon Salty, Dave Ayler holding it down San Antonio, and joining me, Mr. Andy Everett, as Chris is on vacation. And our poll question today asked for Monday Night Football, which broadcast they preferred, and still heavily leading the way is Peyton and Eli Manning. I think ESPN, they've got good things going with the Manning family, especially with Peyton. I'm not so sure about that regular Monday Night Football broadcast. Now, you mentioned it earlier when it came to Peyton that he would possibly make a great owner. And you did mention the Broncos. Of course, Peyton helped lead the Broncos to their last Super Bowl. But interesting to note that also in the news are Jeff Bezos, of course, the head of Amazon and the biggest billionaire, I think, in the world. I think he's up there. He's definitely right. Okay. There you go. And then because apparently the Broncos are considering selling the organization in 2022 when their current contract is up. The prior owner passed away recently. He has 7 daughters that are now trying to decide what to do with that franchise, and it could be up for sale. Of course, it would cost probably, they're estimating $4 billion. That family purchased that team for $76 million when he got it. So a pretty good deal considering all things. Thanks to Jerry for that one. He certainly played a helping hand. Now, of course, Jay-Z alone, he is a billionaire rapper, but $1 billion isn't $4 billion, so he's not going to be able to get this team alone. Might be a group effort. He, of course, no stranger to team ownership, as he was a part owner of the Brooklyn Nets, kind of helping bring them back to relevancy. He then stepped out of there after he developed his own sports agency. He's got guys like Kevin Durant on his roster for that. So I don't know how that would play into his ownership, if he would then have to give that up or sell that off to be an owner of an NFL team. But I don't know. I kind of like your idea of maybe throwing Peyton in that mix to help Jay-Z along with that team. I feel like if Jeff Bezos is going to buy it, though, he's going to buy it outright. Right. Yeah. Yeah, he might just be bored with his billions of dollars, and right, and just throw a couple billion this way. And also, like, I feel like if you're that high up, especially on the entrepreneurship world, where business is a lot like sports, and that you want to win, right? That's how you measure your earnings. That he would be competitive in that aspect, and maybe just shell out money to get the best coaching staff and to get the best facilities and the best this, that, and the other. But you're right. I don't know how big of a sports fan or sports knowledge, how much he actually has. So that could either probably be a really great thing to have him as your owner, or a bit of a disaster. Mm-hmm. I agree. And what do you think about when Jeff Bezos says, "I've got all this money, I don't want to share ownership, I want to buy it outright"? But Peyton, I want you to run it. I want you to move John Elway after. He's proven he doesn't know how to find quarterbacks at this point, and it doesn't count that he found Peyton because Peyton was already a proven guy. So we're gonna have Peyton run it. What do you like about that idea? Jerry, hello. Clearly he hasn't been. Clearly there's too much salt on his muffins to pay attention to anything like that could maybe possibly help get us into a Super Bowl. So when it comes to that, and then we look now at Jay-Z versus Jeff Bezos of possibly being an owner, I feel like actors want to be singers or rappers, and singers want to be owners or involved in sports. And sports guys, some of them we already know are rappers, some of them turn to acting. I don't know how much of that is about money or just relevancy when you are either aging out of whatever it is you're doing, right? Or you're trying to stay relevant. But when it comes to Jay-Z, we know he's a businessman, right? He's very much like Jerry in that in the business he's in, he's the best there is. But he wants to get his hand more into sports. Yes, he's a sports fan, but I don't see him being a Jerry in that he wants to buy in and have all that control. But I don't know I don't know what that looks like. I mean, how do you go to work as a head football coach and be like, yeah, Jay-Z's my boss. That's my buddy. Are you trying to tell me that because I go win Super Bowls on Madden and championships in the NBA on 2K that I am not going to be good at a real life head coaching or ownership gig? I'm just saying, so far, I've won back-to-back championships in NBA 2K, MVP of the finals, MVP of the year, and scoring titles. I'm pretty good at my job. I feel like I could transfer that over to real life at some point in my sporting career. It's just you. Now, do you play fantasy at all, Andy? Okay. Go there then. Set your lineup. All right. Well, just like the Cowboys, I started 0-1 week 1 in both my fantasy teams. So, but as Mark told us yesterday during his presser, no football team has won the Super Bowl going undefeated. Patriots almost did it. And then there was this dude named Eli Manning who came along and decided that he was the newest Manning brother that needed to defeat Tom Brady and be the big man of the house. All right, that does it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dave. We've got another great one tomorrow. Some Becky Hammond news, as well as Mr. Bill Schoening. That'll be fun to talk to him about the achievement and really just honor that Becky Hammond is going to receive, as well as more in the world of football, both NFL and college. As always, you can always call 1-707-970. Please get that into your contacts. You can call us whenever you please during the time of 6 to 9 a.m. We love taking your phone calls. And like I said earlier, giving life advice. That's really what we're here for. That and sports. Podcast always available on the Chris Duel Show page. Check it out. It's available hour by hour. We've got it broken down for you right there. We'll see you again, and we'll do it again in 21 hours. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Peace out.